space, really looking at what's happening on the African continent in many different contexts. And as global demand for South Africa's iconic Rooibos continues to rise, so does the need to protect its identity. Very, very important. With improved access to international markets, including China, Rooibos is becoming more than just a tea. Okay, it's becoming a very valuable export as you and I speak. Beyond commercial success lies the importance of preserving its authenticity, traceability, and unique origin through geographical indication and protected designation, as it were, of original status. So these protections, as we understand it, not only safeguard the integrity of the product, but also support thousands of livelihoods around South Africa, as we noted right now. Marthinee Swart is joining me on the line in their capacity as Secretariat of the South African Rooibos Council, or SARC as it's known. What a wonderful conversation we're about to have. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, Mmatsheko. Very good to be with you, and thank you for the opportunity for this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marthinee. I was just saying, actually, before our conversation, that isn't it interesting that over the many generations we have seen Rooibos become, I don't know, have its own character, its own personality. I mean, it's just so wonderful. But perhaps let's start with getting an understanding of these terms, that can be very confusing. What exactly are we talking about when we acknowledge geographical indication and protected designation of origin? Let's talk about what that is and why it's so important.
All right. So geographical indication is really a term. It's a protection or a registration that assists in the protection of products that come from a very specific area. So I think for the listeners, it's always good to distinguish. So you get a geographic indication, but then you also get what you call a protected designation of origin. So geographic indication is about the product, and a protected designation of origin means that the product must be grown and processed in a specific area. And this is the registration that Rooibos holds in the European Union. And it's an internationally recognized system. South Africa also recently gazetted their system, and we're also busy joining the South African system. But if the listener thinks it's about, if you think about champagne, or if you think about Parma ham, it must come from only that one region in the world. And in the same way, Rooibos coming from the Cederberg in the Western and a small part of the Northern Cape can only be called Rooibos when it comes from that specific region.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. But we are seeing, of course, that there's a global demand for Rooibos. It's growing really, really fast. What are some of the factors that are driving this increased international interest in our tea?
I think from the side of the South African Rooibos Council, and also not from the side of the Rooibos Council, any granny in South Africa or Southern Africa will tell you if you have a tummy ache, if you're struggling to sleep, and various other ailments, please have your cup of Rooibos. So from the side of the South African Rooibos Council, we really invest considerably in research on the health benefits of Rooibos, and consumers worldwide are looking increasingly for natural, healthy, but also importantly, sustainably produced product. And Rooibos offers a unique combination of being natural, caffeine-free, rich in antioxidants, and then distinctly South African. So we're seeing this growing interest from established markets like Europe and Japan, and then also, as you mentioned, from new markets such as China, where we have aging populations, and they want to age well, and they want to age healthily, and they are more invested in proactively looking after their health and taking in products that would support their health. So I think that really contributes to the growth internationally.
Okay, very fascinating. I'd like us to also acknowledge the fact that South Africa recently secured improved market access, including the removal of tariffs on Rooibos exports to China specifically. What opportunities does this create for the industry overall?
So, Mmatsheko, this was actually for all South African products, I think, which is it was a wonderful bilateral agreement, really smoothing over trade for South Africa as a whole. But for the Rooibos industry, I don't recall the year exactly now, but tariffs for China was really high, at about 30%. Through bilateral engagements, this was then reduced a few years ago, and then at the beginning of this year, totally removed. As I think everybody would be aware, China is a very large market with great potential. And the fact that one can now export to this market with zero tariffs really makes your competitive advantage really, really good. So what the South African Rooibos Council and the industry is currently doing is we are just looking at the market, looking at the demands of the market, and seeing how the industry can best serve this market. But we have already seen in this year of 2026, we keep record of our export destinations. And currently, year to date, China is featuring in the top 10 already based on the removal of these tariffs.
Okay. It's very important for
Yeah.
us to protect the Rooibos name. I think we've seen this information come in drips and drabs here and there. But let's talk about why that is so important in helping to curb, counterfeit markets, if you will, or imitation products, especially when we start to go international.
Yeah, I think this is very important. So with growing demand comes growing risk of the misuse of the name. And Rooibos has become valuable internationally. So it is essential that when consumers buy Rooibos, be it in South Africa or be it abroad, that they can be assured that this is really Rooibos. And when we use instruments like the Protected Designation of Origin, we put rules in place to support traceability, to support quality, and to really ensure that when the customer picks up that box and says Rooibos, that it comes from the Cedarbrook region in South Africa. So producers also invest in quality, and they're happy that that quality is protected. And I think it is important to protect Rooibos not only for ourselves and at this point in time and for the industry, but also for future generations. It is really a very traditional South African drink. Some would say it's part of our heritage. So yeah, that is also important to protect that for our country and for the people of our country.
Absolutely right. On the line with me is Secretariat of the South African Rooibos Council, Martine Swart, and we're looking at Rooibos, how it has become an iconic South African tea, but really well recognized in international markets such as China. We continue the conversation straight after this.
Stay tuned to Channel Africa. Stream us on our new and updated website, channelafrica.co.za. Conversations are happening, and Channel Africa is at the heart of them. We tell the African story with clarity, pride, and purpose, reaching audiences that matter to your brand. Partner with us and connect your business with listeners across borders in multiple languages and markets. For partnership opportunities, sponsorship, or sales, email us at partnership@channelafrica.co.za. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The cultural spotlight on the channel.
Right, 20 minutes into 11 a.m. in Central African time. I hope that you will get an opportunity before the close of the show for you to grab yourself a nice, good, hot cup of Rooibos tea, right? That's what we're discussing in this half hour for our cultural spotlight, looking at not only the commercial success and the importance thereof when we look at Rooibos as an export product of South Africa, but also in preserving authenticity and traceability and the uniqueness of the origins geographically when we look at Rooibos. And that, of course, forms part of the work of the South African Rooibos Council, or SARC. As we noted, Martine Swart continues to join me on the line, and we acknowledging, the fact that it's become an iconic tea internationally, and the health benefits is what we unpacked. But I'd like us to also look at the fact that this is an industry as well, Martine. It's an industry. It impacts people's livelihoods, as it were. So what impact does protecting this product then have on farming communities, for example, and the broader economy as we speak?
Yeah, certainly. That is certainly a good consideration, because you have the story of the heritage, and you have the story of how unique Rooibos is. But behind this, we have thousands of people tirelessly working, people who have been working with Rooibos for through generations, not only through their lifetime. And this is an extraordinarily important part of the Rooibos industry. So the industry is limited to, like I mentioned, an area around Klein Willem in the Western Cape, and then all the way up into the Northern Cape. If you think about also van Reinsdorp, if you think about the Sandveld, Wuppertal is one of our communities also farming with Rooibos, and Highveld. And that supports thousands of jobs. We estimate that directly the Rooibos industry creates about 8,000 jobs, but then obviously we also have more jobs in the supply chain as the product moves through packaging, logistics, exports, etc. And then rural farming communities, they've been working with Rooibos for a really, really long time. And this also brings me to, I think, an important milestone that the industry reached in 2018, 2019, when they signed the first industry-wide benefit sharing agreement with the Khoikhoi and the San people as the traditional knowledge holders on the Rooibos plant, and sharing benefits now ever since that time. So the benefits from Rooibos are not only limited to those communities in the Cederberg area directly working with the plant and directly working with Rooibos, but also enables those traditional knowledge holder communities to share in the success of Rooibos, and as they see fit, develop and implement projects, economic opportunity in those communities. Yes.
So important, and also just to acknowledge that Rooibos goes beyond tea. It's now found in products. I mean, I was in the Karoo the other month, and people were making soaps with Rooibos tea and
Yes.
doing all sorts of really amazing wholesome products. So this is very important when we look at the growth of the economy and the farming
Mm.
and agricultural sector as well. But I mean, let's look ahead a little bit, Martine. Is there anything else that we need to do at this time? Perhaps from a government perspective, other industry
Mm.
stakeholders, consumers. How can we all participate in protecting and strengthening the global reputation of South African rooibos?
Mm. I think the Rooibos industry is interconnected, and it is forever striving to find a balance between all the different elements that makes up the industry. So the industry is not purely a commodity wanting to sell a product and grow a product. Sustainability, because we are in this very specific geographic area, and it is actually UNESCO World Heritage Site. That is part of where Rooibos is grown in the Cape Floral Kingdom. So sustainability and looking after the environment is very important. Then from a consumer point of view, to really protect the status, to really ensure the consumer that they're getting an authentic and good quality product. And what consumers can do for us is just continue to drink their rooibos.
Yeah.
and then I think also, speaking about the health benefits of rooibos, because rooibos is really good for, I've mentioned the research that we do on rooibos, but it is really good for heart health. It's really full of antioxidants, which helps with aging of the body. We're doing super interesting studies also now for neurodegenerative disease. And in a world where we want to maybe become less dependent, or where expensive medicine is sometimes not so accessible to us, a simple cup or 6, that is what we recommend.
Wonderful.
That's what the studies
The more the
recommend.
better. The more the better.
I know 6 is a lot, but that really gives you a good health benefit. Yeah.
Oh man, that is so wonderful. And actually, you speak about the 6 cups. I just opened the SARS website, And there is a beautiful serving suggestion there, okay, with rooibos tea, with some star anise and a little apple and a little
Yes.
citrus, okay? So there you go. You can really have fun with how you enjoy your rooibos tea, continue to drink the tea and buy the authentic products and support the economy. But also, just on the note of the website, you can also subscribe to the newsletter of the SARC, or the South African Rooibos Council, as it were, if you'd like to be updated on the work of the organization as well as other projects. Martine, this was such a wholesome conversation. Thank you very much. All the best with the work that you are doing, and let's chat again soon.
Thank you, Mmatsheko. Really appreciate it. Have a lovely Friday.
You too. Thank you very much, and enjoy
Bye.
your Rooibos tea. Martine Swart, Secretariat of the South African Rooibos Council, or the South African Rooibos Council, or SARC. I beg your pardon. So I hope that you'll enjoy your tea. I enjoy a good cuppa every other day, if not every day. So here we are, 27 minutes into 11 a.m.